Living Adaptive.
The goal is to adapt and thrive despite the adversity you face.
You're going to have that little voice inside of you trying to push yourself.
I set a vision for myself, and now I'm seeing it come to fruition.
I'm grateful for losing my leg.
There's just some things you must endure in life.
You might crash.
You can find a purpose in your suffering.
I'm not going to stop.
You do everything you possibly can.
We want to change the world.
I'm going to adapt to it and make it the way it works for me.
Take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
What's up, everyone? This is Scott Davidson, and you are on Living Adaptive now. So thanks for being here. We have a great show for you today. We've got a great personality. In fact, he's one of the funniest, brightest personalities in the adaptive world right now, man. He's hilarious. Joe Underwood. Joe, what's up, man?
What's up? How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Joe, you're not just an athlete, you're a personality through and through. You're a comedian. You know, you may get tangled up with that whole athletic side often because you have a success. We see the jersey on a back wall for you listeners. He's got a USA jersey back there. He's played, very, very long time at the highest of levels, wheelchair basketball. And so like Joe is accomplished there, but he's also hilarious. He's a coach too, and he gets into nutrition and all kinds of stuff, man. And that's where it gets kind of crazy though, Joe. You really cut up out there, man. Do you get any heat for that? Like with all your jokes?
I do and I don't. Most people are totally cool with them. Most people love like that self-deprecate because they don't expect I feel like people go online or go to comedy shows and they hear like race jokes or religion jokes all the time. But you don't go to a comedy show and expect to hear disability jokes. So people usually eat them up. One thing that I've noticed from TikTok and Instagram is some people in the disabled community will be not cool with some of the jokes, which is something I never expected. But there's that line for some disabled people where I could say something about being a vegetable or something like that. And some people will be like, whoa, that's too far. That's not funny. Or I could fall out of my wheelchair or have somebody tip me out of my wheelchair. And some disabled person comment hey, that's not funny. I've actually had this happen to me and it wasn't funny. I get hit all the time from that side, especially if I put let's just say we're talking about comedians. If I put disabled comic, I got nailed for that, especially with Ryan Niemiller. I wasn't even thinking. I'm like comic with disability, and Niemiller is like that too. Niemiller's like, hey, listen, I'll stop talking about disability when you stop making it a big deal. Exactly.
And he's like, yeah, so I'm going to hit the stage like that and do my act and stuff. But yeah, man, you went out there, you've done some really hilarious stuff. You've grown a follower base that's really big. I mean, really big there. What made you step out of this box? You couldn't have been okay all the time and be let me talk about the most vulnerable points in my life. How'd you step out like that?
So I've always been pretty open to joke about it and stuff like that. The challenge for me was being open about going on stage or being public on the internet with those jokes. Growing up, those jokes stayed within the friend group. And I got a master's degree. I'm in a pretty professional field. So for the longest time, I was actually super concerned about making my comedy public because I was like, what if my clients see me in a unprofessional light? Maybe that's going to screw up my job prospects and my relationships with clients and stuff like that. But I kind of just realized over time, it's okay to have a life outside of what you do for your job. And most people are going to respect you more if they see that you're joking and you're open about this very obvious thing that you have going on, I guess.
So you do got something going on. What is it, man? What's your adaptive story? I mean, this is Living Adaptive and you've addressed it many times, but the audience needs to know.
Yeah, so I was born with spina bifida. I'm sure if you guys have been listening to any podcast in the adaptive world long enough, you've probably heard of it. But so basically, I was born, my spine didn't form correctly, and I was born with a big cyst on my spine. Fortunately for me, I was born with it really low on my spine, so I'm only paralyzed from the calves down. So if you see me in my videos or my stand-up comedy routines, a lot of the time I will get up and make jokes about how I can kind of walk or how I walk. But yeah, so that's my disability.
Yeah, your disability though has not done much to slow you whatsoever, which makes it interesting, makes the whole thing interesting. We kind of talked about this offline a little bit. Like you can have a disability, but that's like second to what's going on. In your case, you're a comedian athlete that happens to have a disability. You know what I mean? Like you're a storyteller that happens to have a disability. But at the same time, it does define us in some ways, that whole adaptive side with it. You get like when you're on your platform and stuff like that, you do get a lot of comments. You do get a bunch of comments. In fact, you have one of the most active accounts that I see out there, in your buddy too, Kara Barron has one too. You guys have a crew that's rolling out there, man. You get some best and worst comments, and I love sharing those. What kind of comments are you getting on the best side and then the worst side?
Yeah, so the best side, I mean, I'm getting comments like, "Hey, this is so funny. Like, you're one of the funniest people I know. You're my favorite content creator." I've like the craziest thing recently is I started going viral over quarantine. So this is all super new to me. And I've even gotten DMs saying like, "Hey man, I watched your videos and it like kind of saved me." Like I was going through some stuff and it saved me to see somebody like that has it worse than me still out here doing this and joking about this stuff. So that's definitely on the best side. Like I'm not used to getting comments like that. I'm used to telling other people that, to be honest. So on the worst side, like I was talking about earlier, some people just not being able to like take the joke or hear the joke or get offended for me. Like for example, I'll post a joke, I'll post a video, and then people in my comments will make other handicap jokes because they know I'm cool with it and it's funny. But then you'll have people coming into the comment section like, "Hey man, that's not funny. You can't comment that stuff," which I respect them. I respect the notion of like standing up for me, but also you just saw me make a very messed up joke in a video. So you got to kind of assume that I'm cool with people's comments making fun of my disability, So
how often are you writing content like that? Like in terms of like comedy content, like what's the daily grind like for somebody like you to build a base like that? Because you don't just get a base, first of all. People think like you go on TikTok and it just happens. I think that's one thing that's missed a lot in our community, is that what someone assumes, like I'm going to show up and do a video or talk about my experience and then the audience is going to follow. That's not the case. What's your daily grind like, the work that you put in to build this stage that you're building?
Yeah. I mean, lately, especially since finding employment has been tough with COVID and stuff going on, I've been trying to post at least once a day, like absolute minimum, because the thing is with like for me and any content creator, you got to realize like most of your content that you put out is not going to be good. Like, but you got to keep putting stuff out because you never know what's going to hit with people, and you're never going to get better if you only post once a week and you only post things that like are going to be good, if that makes sense. You got to keep practicing and like putting stuff out for people. And I will say TikTok is probably the easiest platform to get views on. It does push your content to the most people compared to like YouTube or Instagram or anything like that.
It's the only thing organic left.
Yeah. But like at the same time, if you're inconsistent on TikTok, you're still going to lose that following. They're going to stop seeing your videos because you're not posting consistently. So the algorithm's not going to show it to them. So it's the same idea, even though you're getting comparatively more views, it's the same idea where if you're not posting, if you're not like doing something daily, you're still not going to get anywhere.
What's your goals with all this?
I mean, it would be awesome to get to the point where this could become something that I could be self-sufficient with and like provide for myself with, and just do comedy for a living. I think it'd be really cool to tour and do stand-up. I really enjoy doing stand-up comedy when COVID's not a thing. But I'm really into sketch comedy and making videos as well. So I want to get my YouTube channel up and going. probably after New Year's is the goal. I want to start my own show where I interview comedians in wheelchair. I put able-bodied comedians in wheelchairs and interview them.
I'm so excited for that show. That's the one. Like I need that visual, and I need to see you guys wheeling around. I don't know, like Scottsdale down your way, some shit, and you guys are wheeling around, and they're getting all messed up in the chair because they don't know what they're doing, and at the same time, you guys are like just
riffing on it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited for that prospect because now we're talking about something that transcends like just a adaptive community. You're bringing somebody, putting them in a position of understanding where you're at, but at the same time, it's an enjoyable conversation. Mm-hmm. Hence why I'm so biased to comedians, because like the idea of entertainment is so important to me. I mean, you can't just throw out a podcast and be like, hey, let's make a TED Talk each week or some shit. It's just not that easy. You need to actually make entertainment in there, and people need to see something entertaining for them to continue to tune in.
Yeah, that's another thing with like, not only do you have to post consistently, like every day, you have to make it unique. Nobody wants to just listen to a podcast of like two straight white dudes just talking, right? It's got to be unique, and that's another thing. 100%. I guess like if I was to give advice about like creating content, whether we're talking about comedians or motivational speakers or literally anybody, like stop comparing yourself to people, stop trying to be other people, because if you're just creating the same basic stuff that somebody else is creating, even though they've been successful with it, it's already out there. So you're not going to be successful with it, most likely. You can be similar to them, but make it your own. Twist it and make it your own.
It's so funny. You're so young to realize that. You're 24, Joe. You're a baby. You're a baby in this world, man. And like, you're really young. And I say that as a compliment because you understand already in terms of like creating content and doing things that there's going to be another 100,000 people that are doing the same thing. It's your personal tweak on it. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit how many people have the same podcast or whatever show I'm doing outside of this show. I have my own take on it, and we just move forward, and constant comparisons get you nowhere. Either you like doing it or you don't. When it becomes a job, kick it.
I think some people get scared to put their own original ideas out there because they're like, oh, maybe I'm not funny, or maybe I'm not motivational. Like maybe people won't like me. They won't like my content. But if it's unique, there's literally always a market out there for it.
Do you ever get tired with like the motivational side? Like, like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to be motivational. You know what I mean? I just want to like, whatever.
Yeah. I don't really try too hard to be motivational. I think like when you were asking earlier about like, what are the negative comments that I've gotten? I almost said that one of them was like people calling me inspirational, even though that's not completely a negative thing. It is in some cases. Like some people will call me inspirational for just the weirdest things. Like I understand it's one thing if I post a video that is really funny and getting a lot of views and some disabled person comments and says, hey, it's really inspirational to me that you're bringing light to this. It motivates me to do the same thing. But it's weird when an able-bodied person calls me inspirational for just doing like everyday things, Yeah,
I see you in a chair and you'll start out talking at first. And it kind of sets the vibe that you don't know there's something there. You know what I mean? You're getting the views no matter what. Like that's the thing is like it's not based on just the shit you're doing. The talent that you have, your voice, your personality. It doesn't matter if you're in a chair or standing or whatever. You're kind of just getting that shit done. I say this all the time. My friends don't like this because my friends are older than you. The next gen is here. You are the next gen. The next gen of athletes is here. The next gen of personalities are here. And it's like we need to support this next gen because this is going to be a huge difference making generation as we move forward. And that's where you sit in. And I'm older than you. I'm 40, man. I'm every bit of 40. I've been through the grind when nobody gave a shit about like what we were like or anything. And it kind of sucked at times, but you did too. You're not that young, bro. You're not that young. Like growing up, what was it like, man? What were the adversities like?
I mean, I definitely faced adversity, but I'm hesitant to talk too negatively about like certain experiences because, I don't know, I always grew up feeling like I could do whatever. Like there was always some version of whatever my able-bodied friends could do out there for me as well. Like I competed in sports from third grade all the way through college. I was a competitive swimmer and wheelchair basketball player, and I got to compete literally for our country in both of those sports. And it took a lot of adversity, right? It took a lot of like constantly reminding myself that I could overcome all of the challenges that come with that in terms of getting burned out, motivation loss at times. But I never got bullied or anything like that some disabled people will tell you they went through. But I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I've just always joked about it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to bully somebody that's already joking about it? Like, you can't say anything worse than what they're already saying. So
it does dismantle. It does take it back. Nee Miller talked about it too. I keep bringing you to Nee Miller, Josh Blue, or somebody like that because
I love
like
Nee Miller. He came to Tallahassee when I was living there and did a comedy show.
He's a super talent, man. He's an incredible talent. Before COVID, he was booked for like 2 years straight, is what his agent was saying. Just an incredible talent with that. But like the same idea of like disarming, you disarm really quick and go forward with it. I kind of was the same way. Other times I had a chip on his shoulder, but that's not, it's just a different era, man. I'm a 90s kid, really. Most of my time was in the 90s growing up. And so like it could be a little bit difficult. That's one thing though, that like, looking back at the stuff you face and stuff, surely that's been captured in a bunch of places, but other things aren't captured about you. You can't get it in that 60-second to 10-second TikTok video, whatever length it is. Like, what are some things that people miss? Because you've been interviewed everywhere. You have represented the USA in sports. And so obviously you've been interviewed just based on sports alone. What do we miss?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people nowadays see me for comedy and stuff like that. So a lot of people miss the whole sports side. I didn't get into comedy until 3.5 years ago, something like that. So this is all like very, very much new to me. I grew up from third grade all the way through college doing sports, and that's all I did. Like, my life was sports. I didn't really have much of a social life outside of a few friends. I literally just did sports. So that was my identity forever. And not too many people outside of the people I've known forever know anything about that.
Yeah, I knew about that because you're super talented in that area. Like, yeah, I knew about that. Like, one of the things is like, yeah, I guess you could say we started out a lot of athletes on this, but that's not true. I mean, a lot of the early interviews were caregivers and just give the variety they didn't even have some adaptations going on. So like, there's a lot of things that go into it, but like the athlete side, it was really hard charging. It was starting to get the most attention. And now I'm starting to see the personality side really take off. It's been embraced a lot more, especially where you and I are at in the West Coast. You're starting to see a real pickup out there. Like, have you gotten any feelers out from any agents or anything yet?
Not yet, but I also have not been in a place where I have felt like I could do that yet. Now I'm starting to get there. I'm starting to get there for sure now. But it's just, I literally just got out of grad school in May, just moved back to the West in August. So I was just so busy that wasn't reasonable. And I'm still trying to find a job in my field that I got a master's degree in, so that I can.
What's your master's in?
It's in sports psychology. So I help athletes with like the mental side of the game. Athletes and performers. I could theoretically work with like comedians and musicians and other performers as well. It's all about the mental side of performing.
Why do people break? Why do people break like when they're going into stuff like that?
That is an extremely loaded question. There's really a lot that could go into it. I mean, a lot of people break due to motivation loss, right? They just don't want to be doing it anymore. They don't see the point. Other people, it's performance anxiety. They put so much pressure on themselves before they go up to perform. And then that's what makes them break. It's I would have to know the actual person to be able to say. There's just so many reasons. For me, it was usually performance anxiety. When I worked with a mental performance coach in high school, we worked a lot on that, like overcoming performance anxiety.
What would you get like performance anxiety for? For me, it would be like, I'm going to just start dropping F-bombs by accident and just ruin the whole goddamn show. You know what I mean? Something like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, for me, it was when I started getting to the higher levels, like going to international competitions and stuff like that, I would get imposter syndrome. I would freak myself out by like unnecessarily telling myself I didn't belong there.
Do you mean in sports or like performance?
I'm talking about in sports, but I was also going to say now that stuff is blowing up on the performance side, it's starting to get like that for me too. That's why earlier I was saying like I was shocked that I was getting DMs like saying, "Hey, you saved me." That's crazy to me. Like I never imagined me being somebody that had that impact.
Why?
Just from like I have no idea. I don't know. I just never saw myself like that. That wasn't the intention when I posted those videos. The intention was just posting something that applied to my life that I thought was hilarious, that I hoped other people liked. That was it. And then
that's surprising to me because like I could definitely see the positive impacts by every single post you've done. And so like maybe that's not your intentions. Maybe it's to bring laughter, which is also a very positive experience oftentimes, not all the time, but of course oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm not surprised that you got those direct messages. I'm sure they're going to pick up. Again, you're young, and so like that stuff's going to pick up. But you don't need my pep talks on any of this stuff. You do understand what it takes to get out there and do some stuff. You know what I mean? Like you get what the threshold is. We got a whole nation of individuals that are listening that are wondering like, how can I build my own stuff? What do you suggest to them?
I would say in terms of building your own stuff, the biggest thing for me is stop comparing yourself to other people. You're your own person. Show us your ideas. Show us your art based on your life and your experiences, and there will be a market for it. Stay individual, and just keep at it. Just keep posting stuff. Do it for you. Don't do it for anybody else, and people will appreciate it, and you will motivate people.
On the side of the comedians that don't have adaptations, how are they in terms of acceptance of everything? Not just like, hey, he's got this, I'm good. I mean, in terms of acceptance of your comedy and your performance, your style, everything. How are they?
Never really thought about that actually, but I think most comedians are super receptive of it and they love it. And they're like the people in my comment sections that are like, wow, he's making jokes about this. Now I feel more open to make jokes about this. So I'll have like comedians at comedy shows go up after me and then they'll make disability jokes about me. Usually they'll lose the crowd because then you get into that area of like the crowd thinking, oh, that guy was allowed to make handicap jokes, but you're not, you don't have the handicap, so you're not allowed to. But yeah, it's really cool. It has the same sort of effect that it does on my audience. In terms of like they feel more open to joke with me and stuff like that. And it's a good way to make a lot of new comedian friends.
Take us to your first time going on stage, man. What was it like?
Super nerve-wracking. So how I got into comedy, I had a teammate at Mizzou, wheelchair basketball, who did stand-up comedy at the local open mic in Columbia. And my junior year of college is when I started going to his shows and just watching him and appreciating it. He knew that I loved stand-up comedy in general, loved watching it on Netflix and stuff like that. And he knew I loved coming to his shows and stuff like that. And I was always like I said, I always made jokes within friend groups and stuff like that. So eventually he convinced me to get up on stage and try it. It took a long time because I had massive stage fright and I was super awkward. I was not always this good at talking. So the summer between junior year of college and senior year of college, I watched a crap ton of stand-up trying to figure out who I wanted to be like. Not necessarily wanting to be that person, not necessarily wanting to be Chris D'Elia or Tom Segura, but like trying to figure out who I wanted to kind of write my set similar to and like stylistically. Then I put together a 5-minute set about just experiences that I've had as a disabled person, because that's what I found it easiest to joke about. Practiced it literally all summer from, I think, May to June or July when I went back to Columbia. Went to the open mic, downed a few beers, got up on stage, and I was my nerves were going the whole time. If you go back and watch my video from my first set ever, you can tell I scripted the whole thing. I memorized it word for word, which is usually not
what was your first joke.
Huh?
What was your first joke?
Oh, it was some super stereotypical thing about like, it's funny how, this isn't how I worded it, but the joke was essentially, I bet you guys didn't come to a comedy show expecting to see a wheelchair basketball player doing stand-up comedy. Or
that's funny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's funny. I don't care what you say. That's actually funny.
Yeah, that was so that was my first joke. Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, but really, really cool. I got a few laughs in my first ever set, and I think that's why I still do it. I think that honestly, I would have quit if I completely bombed, just because it was so awkward being up there for me. Getting up in front of people and talking is not something that I was naturally inclined to do. But yeah, I got a few laughs, loved it. I went back for weeks in a row, and just kept practicing and writing new sets and stuff like that, and haven't really looked back.
Did you bomb ever? I just don't see you getting phased by it too much, even if you did.
I have many times. Everybody does. Everybody, like, even the best of the best, like,
always
go up and bomb. Like, you have to bomb to get better in anything, like not even just stand up. Like, you have to have days where you just shit the bed to be able to know, like, okay, this is not working. This is what I need to do to get better.
Do you get phased by it though? Did you ever get phased? I just don't see, I don't know. I don't want to answer for you. My opinion, I just don't see it, you know?
I appreciate that. Early on, definitely. Early on, whenever I bombed, and it still happens sometimes, but less so. Early on when I bombed, I would notice that I was bombing, not getting the interaction I wanted. And what would happen is I would speed up my set. I would start talking quicker, like, okay, I just got to get through this. So I would speed through my punchlines, and it would make it worse because then the audience wouldn't know when to laugh because they don't have time. They don't have the pause to know, okay, that was the punchline. Think about it. Oh, that was funny. Laugh. So I think that's one thing that I've had to get better at is even when I'm bombing, keep looking confident, keep smiling, keep telling my jokes as if I'm killing it. And eventually, hopefully, they'll get on board and they'll start laughing.
Dude, I imagine, like, with the material you come up with, you've got, like, definitely an interesting mind for sure. Like, you have had to have just irritated every teacher and parent growing up just with your material. Is that the case?
Honestly, I how I am now is completely different. I was so quiet. I've always liked writing, but I have never, until like 3 or 4 years ago, I never like put that writing into like expressing it outward. You know what I mean? So I was super good. I never irritated anybody, never like pranked or anything like that. I got in trouble in, I think, 6th grade for like purposely falling back in my wheelchair in front of a teacher. But that was like one time, and that was because my friend dared me to do it.
It's just knowing that, like, that brain doesn't just snap and you all of a sudden are talking about, like, if you don't eat vegetables, you're going to turn into a vegetable. Like, a whole monologue of that. That doesn't just happen, man. My brain's, kind of little, it's definitely not on the straight and narrow when it comes to stuff or whatever you want to call it. Like, your material is good. It's interesting. It's funny. It's very Theo Von-like at times too.
I love Theo.
It's got that vibe to it. Like, you guys both got that. Because, like, I don't know. Like, you guys kind of roll with it. When you said Chris D'Elia, I was a little concerned though because of all his issues right now. That's sad.
Yeah, it is. So when I first started, I always thought that I wanted to be like him in terms of like energetic, like weird.
Oh yeah.
But then I realized that's not me. I think people's stage personalities ends up being similar to their personalities in real life, and mine is very much like straight edge, how I'm talking to you right now. The only difference is when I go on stage, I do this, but with punchlines. I'm sarcastic with punchlines. Once I stayed true to like myself and like my style and how I was comfortable talking, I kind of found different comedians that were more similar to me, and I kind of like styled myself after them. Of course, also realizing that I need to be unique to myself as well.
I can't wait to see you. I know you're going to be like creating the show and everything, but I can't wait to see you like put this together where we can watch you, like we can watch your life unravel from COVID all the way to back on the stage again. I mean, really, that's what it's all about. We want that journey. That's why people love you so much, as you offer that journey. Are we going to be able to see that? Are you going to bring us back to the stage, man? Or like, can I, from the comfort of Las Vegas, Nevada, I want to be with you when you're like in, I don't know, Montana doing a set again. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to get to see that?
Yeah. So my goal with my YouTube channel is I want to get it up and going with the show that I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. But I also want to post other things on there. Like I'll have sketches. I really, really like writing and performing comedy sketches. So I'll have that. And then I'll also have stand-up clips like most comedians do. They'll post stand-up clips from different cities they perform in. So I'll do that as well.
Yeah, we got to pay credit to Teal Share. I think it's how you say her last name. I don't know if you've ever seen her, but she was definitely a funny actress. And she had a vlogging series like maybe 8-9 years ago. Do you remember that name?
Doesn't sound familiar.
We have a big hole right now. A big hole in the adaptive world. I know this is transcending all of that, but we've got a lot of big holes actually right now in terms of missing some content creators. And this is one way to fill it, man. So like maybe I'm a little too excited. I don't know. Maybe I got to get control
you
of
myself.
Never
be too excited.
No, but I'm excited about that too. In terms of like getting up on stage and doing that type of thing, like it's a long process that occurs for each of those things. But you say like it was so nerve wracking that you weren't like this growing up, that like you're a quiet kid, you're good, you got it done. Obviously you're smart, you're done with a graduate degree already, you know, like you're a hard worker. When did this other side how did this other side take hold?
I think the other side has always been there, like deep down. Like I've been making jokes about it since elementary school. But I was always so shy and quiet, I think, because I was just like too insecure about what people thought about me. I didn't want people to dislike anything that I said. I think might have been the issue. I'm still not even really sure. But in like later years of high school into college is when it really started coming out. I really started opening up and realizing, hey, people like these jokes. People like when you're just an open person. And that goes for disability aside, that goes for anybody. If you can joke about whatever is going on with you, people are going to respect you so much more.
Dating life, man. You even talk about that too. You go into a little bit about dating, like, hey, maybe date me or some shit, like in one of the TikTok videos and stuff. You're pretty comfortable talking about dating, and that's a subject that comes up a lot, man. How'd you get comfortable with all that?
Yeah, I mean, dating is, that's one of the first things I ever started talking about in my comedy, because for disabled people especially, I feel like dating is one of those areas that can get super awkward. It can be a source of a lot of insecurity for a lot of disabled people. And it was for me too. It was a lot to overcome. But there's just a lot of weird shit that happens in dating for us.
Yeah.
For example, I have a joke about a girl with a fetish for people that are disabled.
Nice devotee.
Yeah, nice devotee stuff. That stuff is just like, to each their own. I'm really not trying to like be judgmental, but it's so weird on my end to experience that. So I don't know, I guess, yeah, that's why dating is just such an easy topic to talk about, is because there's just so much weird shit that comes up for disabled people in dating.
Yeah, I used to get dudes, like really old white dudes.
Mhm.
They always look like they're heavy breathing, and their faces would be like bright red in their profile picture, and they'd be like, "How much for feet pics?" And I'm like, "Shit, I don't know. How much are you offering, man?"
Someone told
Like,
me that I should start an OnlyFans and just sell pictures of my legs and feet, just my skinny
why?
legs.
Yeah, why do they love our skinny legs so much? I think
Oh.
mine are skinnier than yours, man. My knee down for I might have you beat for my frame.
Yeah, I mean, my calves are pretty thick, so I think that makes my legs look a little bit bigger than they are, but
Yeah, I got none of that. I got
I'm
none
just
of
kidding.
that,
I have
man.
no calves at all.
Yeah, skip legs day, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm a monster
I wear
believer in that.
calf high socks to kind of
Yeah.
hide the.
Yeah, I wear in high school I wore 3 layers. So like I wear 2 3 layers. When I went to Disney World with my kids in like 2013, so you're like 4 then when I brought my young children there, I remember like
I was
summer
like
I'm
4.
like, yeah, I remember summer I like strapped on a couple pairs of socks on each side. I mean I was like prepped for Norway or something, you know, and it was so because I was not ready. Like this whole adaptive wing, like when you're talking about, I wasn't ready to get on stage. Oh man, I had some. In fact, as we speak, Osprey is releasing an article about the bullying Osprey packs, and it was really fucking tough, man. It was really tough because like it was just an era where like you better hide that shit, and Paralympics was like I don't know anybody like me, and then there was nothing, and like you know, it would have been just so cool to even try for it. Like I love when people are like, I'm gonna go to the Paralympics. I'm like, good fucking luck. There's a whole line of people that want to kick your ass to get there. But the point being is like, I don't know, it's just a tough era with that type of stuff and discussing it, you know?
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, like against all those people that want to kick your ass is a great way for disabled people to realize how they can overcome adversity and that life is the exact same way. Like everybody in every aspect of life is trying to kick your ass, and the disability doesn't help you in life. Like it makes it easier for people to kick your ass, honestly. So it really teaches you like, hey, I really have to step up and like figure out how to kick other people's ass.
Who's your biggest rival? Do you have a rival where you fought for a spot on the Paralympic squad? I guess they can go nameless too.
Yeah, I did have, especially in not so much in wheelchair basketball. There was really nobody in wheelchair basketball where I was like, that's my rival. Like,
yeah.
In swimming, definitely though, there were a few guys because in disabled sports you have classifications, right? To make it fair, there was a few guys within my classification that were just like slightly better than me for most of the time that I was a swimmer at that level. So it was always like my goal to somehow beat them, like, or somehow like get close enough to prove that I could be on the U.S. team with them, alongside them. So yeah, I had a couple rivals like that.
Toughest sport out of the two. Let's lay the debate to rest right here, right now. What's the toughest one, swimming or basketball?
Fuck. Swimming. Swimming is tougher. Because here's the thing. From a mental perspective, for me, swimming, especially once it got to the point where I was practicing twice a day sometimes, it got to the point where I was just like swimming laps. Like basketball is, there's more ways to mix it up.
Yeah.
So mentally, swimming was tougher for me. And physically, I mean, swimming without legs is far tougher than playing wheelchair basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're taking half the body out, half the movement out. It's a crazy feat in itself. And then they're like, we're good luck. You're going to be in a body of water.
Build up your lung capacity, build up your cardio.
And people don't understand. We don't float like people. Like when you don't have thickness on your legs, they just go down.
Yeah. And the thing for me too was I know not everybody's going to be able to see this, but my feet are fixed in like a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
So when I'm laying in the water, they're like this. They're like an anchor. They're like an anchor.
Mine are at the, like, basically, I don't know, 45. I suck it. at this. So like somewhere in there, they move 5 degrees down, 15 up. So 5 plantar, 15 dorsal, the max movement of it. We can't really skirt over what happened with like in terms of your accomplishments with sports, because this is what you're doing also on your real side of your career. Like if people want to like work with you on this type of stuff, how do they reach out to actually work with you? Because we got a lot of athletes that ask these questions. I've been asked these questions. I'm like, wrong dude to be talking to. I'm not a coach at anything.
Yeah. So in terms of my mental performance coaching business, it's called Beyond Limits. I have a Instagram. Some people have reached out on Instagram. It's Beyond Limits MPC, which stands for Mental Performance Coaching. And then same thing for the website, beyondlimitsmpc.com. There's a place on there where you can type a message and request to like talk to me or meet with me, set up an appointment.
Joe Underwood, we can't let you go without getting even more serious. It's just what we do here. And like, you've had 24 years on this beautiful globe. You have a very upbeat attitude. I do see that. But life does throw a lot of shit at you. They've thrown a lot of shit at everybody.
That it does.
And the variables change. Like, what is this whole thing about for you? What is life about for you?
Being happy, connecting with people, expressing myself how I want to express myself, and just living every day trying to be as happy as possible and bring happiness to other people. Honestly, that's all it's about. That's all I care about.
Were you like that as a kid? Did you have the same perspective? If not, like...
Yeah, pretty much when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I would say it was more on the inspiration side, though. I just wanted to be inspirational to people. I want to show everybody that, hey, I can do this, so you can do this too. Now it's a bit more on the comedy side. I want to show you, hey, I'm cool with this. Let's joke about it. Let's all have fun together. And I still am into the like inspiration side of it too. I want to inspire you, but that's not my main thing like it was when I was a kid.
Is there anything else you want to share with listeners? And when I say that, like, is there anything else that you think of that needs to be captured about you? Because like, 30, 45 minutes, hour, it's hard to capture even 10% of 5%, any of it, but like, I'd love to like bring you to the stage here,
The most important thing to realize is that myself, along with any other content creator you will probably ever talk to on this show, we're just trying to express ourselves in a way that we know how to express ourselves. We're making jokes about our lives. We're talking about our lives. And while they are jokes, in this case for me, while they are jokes, they're jokes about real things that happen to me that kind of bother me, right? So I make jokes about people holding open automatic sliding glass doors for me at stores, which it's funny. It's comical that people have such low brain cell count to do that. But also it's like, bro, you're treating me like I'm like inhuman in a way, because you're holding open this door that is specifically built so that I can go through it without any issues. So I think that realizing that these jokes, while they are jokes, they also come from a place of like, hey, I'm trying to educate you on how to not be a fucking idiot when you see me in public. I think that is what some people miss. And I think that is an important takeaway.
Do you get, of course, anybody that is in our arena gets the dude that's always like talking to you like you got stage 4 cancer. Like, I get that. I was at this, I remember being at my kid's swim meet. You're a swimmer. Yeah. We were in Maryland at the time. It was like, it was just something else. I just didn't even like it. It was just like everybody's flipping out at every heat. And I remember sitting on a chair and some guy like approached me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, dude, I'm fine. I'm eating a taco in a bag, which people don't probably know out here. I'm like, I'm eating a taco in a bag. Life is good right now. I'm fine. I don't know did I do something wrong?
Yeah. Like people have come up to me at the store before and I'm just putting groceries in the back of my car. And they'll park by me. They'll come out and say, "Hey, like, you're so inspirational. I see you out here doing all of this despite what you got going on. Who's going to cook that food for you?" It's like, bro, I just shopped for myself. Like, I'm living, this is everyday life. I understand that not everybody has the ability to do that, but it's weird to me that I'm that much of an inspiration for it. And it's weird to me that you ask me who's going to cook this for me when I'm here buying it for myself.
There's a lot of people struggling, man. Like, you can create a little piece for the people out there struggling, or what can you say to like those that are out there struggling, man? Can they reach out to you and hang out with you?
Yeah, that's actually an important point. I really try my best to stay on top of my Instagram DMs, especially, and my TikTok DMs and everything. So like, seriously, if you reach out and I see your message, I will 100% reply. And we can talk about whatever. We could be funny. We could be serious. If you have something going on you want to talk about, I'm totally down for that, because I know these are unique times. We're not used to having holidays where there's a global pandemic on top of whatever crap we got going on in our lives. So it's a crazy time for all of us, but everybody's going through it together. I think that's an important point that I've had to realize is I finished grad school. I'm unemployed with a master's degree, but everybody is going through that. These times are equally shitty for everyone. So yeah, I'm always down to talk about it. Yeah, I'm a very open person. Feel free to reach out about anything.
So Joe Underwood, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate everything you have. The biggest thing that we have, though, ahead of us is what you're doing next. And of course, we're going to have that in the show notes, but we're going to follow you. We're going to follow you because the whole goal is to give people options to understand that there are opportunities out there, despite shitty things can happen. And there's a community out there. And I'm excited to see this next generation, this 24-year-old Joe Underwood, make some damage, man. So I'm excited for you. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate you for having me on here, first of all, but also all of you guys that are listening. I wholeheartedly appreciate any support in advance. It seriously means the world.
Remember, go to livingadaptive.com to find previous episodes, show notes, contacts for guests like this guest, links to social media accounts, and a bunch of other good stuff. So go there. Peace.